Are you gonna give me orders?
As we are going to get into our next series, which is going to be Zest versus uThermal. Brody, you picked uThermal for this. Tell me why.
Yeah, well, this is one that I'm really not sure about. You know, I'm not going to have a very strong speech or a very convincing speech here because I've been predicting against both of them for a couple of weeks in a row. Like, I thought that uThermal was going to lose against Zest. I thought he was going to lose against Clem. Then I thought Zest was going to lose, not necessarily against Time. I did think he was going to beat Time, but I was pretty sure. I was like, he might lose to Dongregu. I'm not sure about it, but I thought that could happen. Didn't happen. I was like, Hero Marine is too solid, man. Like, Hero Marine's actually just going to be good enough. He's going to build up strong armies. He's going to deal with some shenanigans, and he's going to win. Bam, 3-0. Then I was like, well, TY. I mean, okay. I don't know how Zest did it, and Dark Shrines are funny, but you can't pull it off against TY. Bam, he pulls it off in an even more insane fashion. That was a fantastic best of 5, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. But uThermal plays so different. uThermal has all these kind of like 1 base, 2 base all-ins where you can go for a Dark Shrine, but then 1 or 2 Dark Templars basically need to win the game. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like maybe a couple of the builds from the Dutchman can catch him off guard. It was a hard one. I just went for what I thought was going to happen, and that's I saw tanks and I saw bonkers, Waddy. That's what I envisioned.
Well, on the top left-hand side of Nightshade, we've got that blue Protoss player, Zest.
Yay!
On the bottom right side, look at the main base of the Dutch Terran player representing TeamLiquid. Of course, it is uThermal.
Whoopee!
Yeah, it's also a thing where, like, I think it's actually super hard to play Terran cross-server as well, especially when it comes to, like, avoiding disruptive shots or avoiding Storm. But I just don't think we're going to see those kind of games. I think we're going to see an insane amount of early mid-game aggression. We're going to see probably a couple proxies. And then I actually think that the ping disadvantage for both of them, obviously, because they both have a high ping, I think it's going to be a bit worse for Zest, actually, because there are some moments where you have like 3 or 4 stalkers and you really need to kite properly, right? You need to pick off every marine you can pick off. You need to buy time against a medevac or a tank that's pushing out. And then I actually think if both of them are playing with ping, it becomes a bit worse for Protoss than it is for Terran. And maybe that's what really pushed me over the edge in the end for uThermal. But to be honest, Morty, I have no idea, okay? When you're predicting a Zest series and he just makes like 3 Dark Shrines in 1 game against TY and he gets Blink, and I learned last week that it's Shadow Strike and not Shadow Strike. Everybody was losing their mind. I was like, what? In my mind, it was always Shadow Strike. Shadow Strike sounds so much cooler, but yeah, apparently it's Strike. I just don't know. I don't know where Zest is going to take it, but I'm going to buckle up and really enjoy the ride of this one because I have the feeling we're going to watch an entertaining and funny best of 5.
uThermal has been playing the most ridiculous PvT builds all week as well on the ladder, and in events. I casted him multiple times, going like some combination of proxy racks and factory. I know he's whacked out proxy ghost this week in certain games.
Yeah.
It's been a very interesting week watching uThermal play TVP, and for me, that gets me excited because I have no idea what he's going to do in this series because of what I've been seeing from him in the last week. And right now, it looks like it's like super normal, right? Like it looks super standard. Reactor expands, he doesn't go for a Reaper, which is a little different. But otherwise, this is very regular to begin.
I do feel like this is kind of a crazy opening because even a probe could have just messed him up, right? Because he went reactor, fast expand, low ground, no scout. So he's got 0 units. So even just a single probe shows up and starts buzzing that SCV, then I think that Zest would have already been able to delay that command center for a bit. So I think it's kind of a crazy opening, but he got away with it so far. The Marines move out as they try to catch the Adept if the Adept was sleeping or Zest was looking away. But Zest so far is looking sharp. And Zest so far is also playing like somewhat normal. Where is our Dark Shrine, Waddy? I'm starting to get a little anxious over here.
I know, 3 minutes and 22 seconds, Zest. You're late on the Dark Shrine. What's going on? What's happening? Just going with the Prism in the early stages as uThermal trying to come across with these Marines. Won't do much there, but he is now starting to reinforce with Hellions. And that's where combined, the Marines can be a bit of a distraction. The Hellions can get by. Like the Warlock from Zest, that should be good enough to hold. As the Hellion shove, he's obviously going to be very defensive on this Warlock. He's got a shield battery too, so it's a perfectly set up for Zest.
Yeah, without a shield battery, I could have been like, oh, this stuff can actually get dicey, right? But with the shield battery, it's absolutely perfect. I'm actually surprised that Zest is moving his Stalkers away there. I would have gone for the chase. He did not have a unit in position to block against these two Hellions. And uThermal's already getting a couple of good shots off. He might be able to get like 4 or 5 probes here. And that's pretty big in this phase in the game. He gets more Hellions into the natural Zest, my friend. What are you doing? You had such a good setup initially.
Yeah, these Hellions are naturally going to deny so much mining time. Not a lot of kills because of the shield battery, but on the way to the point where the shield battery... Oh my god, this probes! I mean, if all those probes take damage, then there's some serious kills across the map. Damage being done.
Yep, and this is obviously what Zest was looking at, and this is why these Hellions were able to get as much damage done. And this means that now uThermal is actually going to be the one in quite some trouble, because the tank is not done yet. He now has to worry about a couple of Stalkers and a Prism in his main base. Maybe Zest is actually going to be more than okay. uThermal is going to pull pretty much all the SUVs, and I don't hate that. He is sending a Banshee, by the way, to the other side of the map, so that Banshee also has sick potential. But does uThermal have enough at home to survive against the War Prism aggression?
Oh, the Marine's trying to run for the bunker on the low ground. He gets one in. Now the rest of them will get in as well. This tank, though, is now then exposed. Oh, no. There will be a Banshee maybe to help out, but the tank's already on siege. And uThermal knows what's about to happen here. Banshee is across the map. Oh, yeah, that was kind of scary. But yeah, Banshee across the map is going to be the next point of interest. But the shield battery finishes, and that pretty much puts an end to this.
I mean, there is an observer indeed as well, so good job there by Zest, and that Banshee is indeed going to run out of steam. What a wild way to start this. I mean, obviously having an army this big in the main base of the Terran is very good. uThermal is not done losing SCVs yet, as we can see 2 more go down. He's going to end up losing the refinery here as well. And Zest is going to move around for a while. He has to be super careful with that War Prism. I still think this is good for Zest. He obviously needs to get a little more damage done than he got so far, but that shouldn't be hard, right? Okay, he's going to go in with slow Zealots here. That's maybe a little bit questionable, as he does get 1 tank in the end, but that was quite a painful trade.
Yeah, now there's another tank out for uThermal, so... And uThermal just about found a way to like buy enough time to get the couple tanks up, and now it looks kind of okay. Worker counts are close-ish, and I think for the Terran that's all right. And Zest, okay, now the Dark Shrine comes into play. Yes. That is going to be his next tech choice, right? So a weird game with tech all over the place. I mean, let's see what the DTs end up doing, because uThermal, well, starts an engineering base. There is some potential for turrets.
No, worker-wise, you're spot on, Waddy. This is actually pretty decent, I think, for uThermal. He's now down 6 workers because he forgot to build SCVs for a split second. But I still think Zest is not done yet. As we can see, these 2 Stalkers are going to be annoying. A lot of these SCVs are a little bit beat up already from those previous fights. And that makes it easier for Zest to get a few more kills. Suddenly, he's almost 10 workers ahead. But he's not like heading towards a terrifying army, right? It's not like there's a Forge on the way or double Forge on the way. Charge is finishing up. There's a Robo Bay. No, it's none of that. But what we do have is indeed that Dark Shrine. And sometimes that's all that Zest really needs. So it's a wild game so far, but I'm already entertained. I'm having a smile on my face, so let's go.
See Banshees across the map. I mean, this could be some fun because they don't have to dive in right away either, right? They can just sit there and wait. And even if they're going to keep these Stalkers just in position, I think that's kind of a win for uThermal. He'll go in, he'll check, sees the observer. Well, he doesn't see the observer, but he assumes there's an observer there. He's going to rotate and move them elsewhere. And it feels as though, for the moment, game settles down and uThermal is okay. Banshee has to catch on the Banshee. So he loses the Banshee. The only thing I'm going to say is uThermal obviously kind of feels like he might just go for a big push, right? Because it doesn't feel like he's SCVing up very quick. There's no sign of a third base. Definitely feels like there's something planned in the next few moments for our Terran.
I love the missile turrets. Because uThermal probably has done his homework, right? And he's obviously seen those games that Zest did play against Hero Marine, and of course the games against TY as well. Maybe that 1 Banshee can be annoying here. I was with you though. I was like, the double Banshee always represents a lot of potential. It can keep units at home. Losing 1 of them already makes it so much less threatening because there are multiple shield batteries as well. And Zest is just going to switch things up. Does Zest think he's about to like kill some queens or something over here, Wardy? Like, what is actually happening?
Yeah, a couple of Archons drop off Marines. I mean, if they stay clumped up, but they deal so much damage. And there was a lot of Marines here as well, so Zest will, I mean, I guess tries to keep some pressure on the map as uThermal. Must be careful with this tank, right? You don't want to lose that to an Archon or anything. No, he's getting Marine kills, but here comes uThermal pushing across the map. And that's what I was kind of expecting. He does start a 3rd CC behind this.
Yeah.
But is hoping to deal some damage, and with 5 siege tanks, he absolutely can handle the Colossus count as well in this early stage.
Yep, there are only 6 gateways for Zest. That is not that many. He was floating some money there as well, so he's going to add 2 more gateways. It all comes down to the engagement, right? Like, obviously, with Archons, with Zealots, you can get a very good engagement, but uThermal is going to siege up very early, which I think is an excellent decision. Guardian Shield can be massive here, because obviously there's a lot of firepower in these Marines, but Marines do struggle with Guardian Shield, especially if you don't have any attack upgrades.
Yeah, obviously this is a slow push forward, but I like it. He didn't use his stim when those initial Zealots started to move in, so that was a good call. Didn't waste any energy on his medevacs.
The Banshee just flew over the army as well, so the Banshee just went down for nothing. Zest is starting to feel really confident, even though he's been supply blocked for a while. He's got 1,000 minerals, he's supply blocked, but he's got 5 pylons on the way, and he's sending a lot of Zealots to the other side of the map. And these Zealots are going to be annoying, because I don't see that many units for uThermal in the natural, but who cares really about how many units there are in the natural if the Zealots just turn around?
Yeah, no units is the counter. Well, uThermal at least to get a 3 CC up behind this as he scans another observer, doing a great job of denying vision, and now will get on the map with a drop. Just again trying to be like a little bit annoying. uThermal is so good at keeping pressure on the map and being annoying. I'm kind of surprised he lost his 2 Banshees the way he did, because that's very unlike uThermal.
All right, there is a Shadow Stride, by the way, as it's going to go down. We haven't seen that many DTs yet, but Zest is careful with his Dark Templars. Now, uThermal's chasing these Zealots all the way to the top side of the map, but it also means that this army has a lot of potential for Zest. But then we still have that drop heading towards the natural of Zest as well. This game is about to get real wild, because obviously neither player is going to win every single fight. It could turn into a full-on base trade, but then the Liberators are going to be super useful. The Colossus will be able to deal with this, obviously, because there is shield battery here as well. So that's nice, but Zest is going to lose his 3rd base, and obviously if he loses this one, he should end up losing the 4th base as well.
Important for uThermal to try and keep CCs alive, obviously, so you can still scan DTs just in case they come in defensively. As Zest has made his way up into the main base across the map, and I think that's really nice, because then you don't let the Liberators get set up or anything like that, and it will shut down these CCs from being landed. Like I say, then you're talking about DTs on this army in Zest base, then they become a huge difficulty to deal with. In fact, what detection do you have as uThermal?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on, buddy. I have the feeling this is another game where Dark Templars could very well win it. uThermal is going to try to snipe the Dark Shrine, and he does get the Dark Shrine. How many DTs do we have out on the map? 5, though. There are 5 Dark Templars out on the map. Zest just casually flew one of his observers into the missile turret. But Zest's army does look pretty terrifying.
That's the last orbital as well. That's it.
Oh my
Protection
goodness.
gone.
No SCVs out on the map, so no ability to build missile turrets, and uThermal knows it. That is something you cannot win. Zest wins with Dark Shrines, even if the Dark Templars didn't really get any kills, Waddy.
Just incredible, isn't it? It's like he actually just doesn't. How does he still win with DTs when the DTs weren't part of the game? Madness.
uThermal knows. The man has Dark Templars out on the map, no orbitals left. There were no SCVs with the push, so there was no potential for uThermal to... This is why I was actually bringing 1 or 2 SCVs, right? Even if it's just to build a missile turret. It's nice against War Prisms, it's nice against an Observer, and it's obviously super nice if it gets awkward and it turns into a full-on base trade. I gotta say, I love how decisive Zest was there, because there was a tank in uThermal's main base. There were 2 Liberators already sieging up on the ramp, and he immediately realizes, hey, if I just go in, even if it's a bit ugly and I lose a few more units than I should, this is going to be worth it for me, because I do have Dark Templars, and Terran players need their orbitals against my Dark Shrine. So I love that he didn't waste a second. He just went for it immediately, and this time it wasn't 12 Dark Templars blinking around, but they still technically won the game for Zest.
Yeah, no, it was. I was totally with you when he first mentioned about the base trade and how this Liberator is set up, because I thought, Zest is gonna hit his head against a brick wall on the ramp, and then he has to recall. But then obviously it's very weird because uThermal probably saves 2 CCs. Zest is probably on 2 bases. And uThermal has a good tank cam. Maybe you can do something with that, especially if he maybe fights a recall. Yeah. But then, that's just no needs. That just completely comes in with the army, gets into the main, and at that point it is just a base trade loss for uThermal.
That was a weird game as well because the way it started. Because I actually loved Zest's initial response with the Adept, the 3 Stalkers, the Wall Off, and the Shield Battery. I was like, oh man, what an absolutely perfect response against this random Marine move out that is mostly to distract and apply some pressure to units and then allow the Hellions to potentially get a lot of kills. I was like, this is just perfect for Zest, and this is already getting really bad for uThermal. Then suddenly, 2 Hellions sneak by, 2 more Hellions sneak by, and I'm like, okay, I kind of like where this is going. And Zest is just like, I'll lose a couple probes, but I've got a War Prism in my opponent's main base, and that's what I'm going to focus on, because I think it's going to be okay. And it was a really typical Zest game, right? Like, was it super clean? No. Was it super pretty? No. Was his macro on point? Questionable, a couple of times floating 1100 minerals being supply blocked, but the man just keeps on winning. So what does it really matter? Like, all of those things I think are irrelevant if you keep on winning. If you lose, it's very easy to pinpoint why you lost. But if you keep on winning, who really cares he was floating some money? Maybe it's part of the build order. Who knows?
Yeah. Like, just keep some money in reserves just in case. Evergreen going to be map number 2. The one thing I want to see from uThermal is I want to see some of this crazy just come into play, because it feels like that's what he's been practicing all week. So I want to see racks outside of his base. I want to see him building ghosts. I want to see him doing ridiculous things that you don't think should work, but uThermal can make it work. And I want to see how our blue pros in the bottom left, Zest, is going to handle that.
Of course, in the top right side of Everdream, the main base of uThermal. No SCVs heading out yet. I kind of thought that if there was a map where uThermal would go for a crazy one-base build, it would have been on Everdream. Like, I think this is a pretty good map for some of those one-base all-ins. They obviously hit very quick. The proxies go up quickly because the map isn't that big. But it doesn't seem to be the case. But it's also a really good map for some of those early 2-base pushes, right? Like last game, he did make Marines and tanks, but it was a lot later. It was with Steam. It was kind of proper. He went up to 3 bases behind all of it. I was more thinking of like the early move outs, right? With like 7, 8 Marines, and then you bring 2 or 3 SCVs as well to repair your tank. Because I think those builds can be pretty devastating and really difficult to deal with.
No, for sure. Those are the ones that it's so clutch, right? Because you lose 1 unit too many, and you just can't hold it. Bunkers get up, and then what do you do from there? Well, you just don't have a good tank, quite frankly. So, yeah, I'm with you. As we get into this, we'll see exactly how Zest does want to play, and we'll see what uThermal does indeed have planned over the next minute or so. Start to get some tech choices and start to figure out what exactly this game is going to bring us.
I feel like if there is one thing that Zest did really impress me with over the last few weeks, it's his ability to get so much value out of what seems to be an attack or a push that's running out of steam. But he's so good in keeping that Prism around, getting a few more SCVs, the 2 random Stalkers split off behind the main mineral line that then allows maybe an opening in a natural. This time he suddenly goes for an Archon drop, in PvT. But he's damn good at keeping his opponents busy and buying way more time for himself after certain things may not have gone completely the way he wanted than other Protosses are. Because there are some scenarios where you're like, if you open up like that, and you don't win the game or you don't deal an insane amount of damage, you're just going to die against the counterattack. But Zest is damn good in delaying that counterattack, and he just keeps doing it in different ways, but he's awesome with it.
Ripper gets up into the main base, and we'll get a few shots off to start on a couple of those probes. Obviously, just looking for some information. Looking to see what the tech is, but there is no tech choice down just yet. He'll build a Twilight Council. Obviously, you don't want to delay too long just because the Reaper is here, so it's a bit of a shame that the Reaper is going to end up scouting this, but that's kind of the job of the Reaper anyways. So Zest gives up the information this time. There should be one more shot, and he gets it.
I mean, that's such a good feeling, I think, as a Protoss, getting rid of the Reaper. It also allows you to go up to 3 bases a little bit quicker, because there's always that moment where you feel like, okay, it could be a mine drop opening, right, or something along those lines, so you want to keep 3 Stalkers in the main, or 3 in the main, or 3 in the natural and then 2 in the main, and then you want to send out that single probe, and then that probe can't actually build the Nexus because that Reaper is still there. So just getting rid of the Reaper this early on is a real feel-good moment.
Yeah, now he's across the map, and there's no bunker up, there's just a couple of Marines. The Marauder pops out, and that's going to be the big unit to shut this down, so we'll push this away, and that 2 racks of uThermal is obviously revealed here as well, so this point Zest is like, okay, well, I know what you're up to, I know you've got 2 racks. uThermal going to go for concussive shot, so this is going to be an aggressive 2-base push.
Yeah, but now getting the heads up so early, for if you're Zest, that's gotta feel good, right? Because nobody has a Marauder there if they also want to go for a Mind Drop. This is not possible. You can't afford that kind of stuff as a Terran player. So just knowing that this is coming, I think is amazing. I am a little bit surprised to see Zest have a probe on location to go up to 3 bases now. Because I would be like red alert, start chrono boosting Blink, try to buy some time, get 3 more gateways. Because my opponent clearly wants to be very aggressive here. I'm shocked to see him go up to 3 bases here, buddy. But hey, he's Zest. He keeps making things work. Let's see how he's going to pull this one off.
The shield battery on the 3rd base as well, right? Like, he really wants to defend out in this open area. And yeah, I mean, look at this.
He's got like no firepower at all. I'm so worried. Zest, what?
Did he just die? But I feel like he just dies, right? He's running away like he had no idea what's happening.
Yeah, but he scouted everything, Marty.
Yeah.
He scouted everything. Unless he read it as a 3-Rex and he's like, he's going to attack me by the time he has Stim. Maybe that's what he expected. I mean, that tank shot was money as well. Jeez Louise. 2 Stalkers taking a lot of damage. One of them goes down. All the probes do come out. Probes can actually be kind of nice here. Because Marauders and a tank are not that great. But look at the focus fire of this tank on all the Stalkers. Zest has no units left. And these are the kind of builds uThermal just keeps pulling up as well. And he keeps getting away with it. Apparently, even if half of it gets scouted.
I was going to say, this Siege tank just killed every one of the Stalkers while the probes were kind of doing an okay job. Yeah. Every Stalker just doped around behind the wall off, and that'll be GG as uThermal ties it up 1-1 against Zest. And we'll start to make a series out of this. Guaranteed at least to go to 4 maps, which is a bit nice after that Innovation of Laser matchup.
I mean, I think Zest truly read that as, hey, my opponent is opening up 3-Rex, or he's doing like one of those weird combat shield Marauder pushes, you know, that all just hit a little bit later. And he's like, I'll get a shield battery and go up in 3 bases. I've got a couple sentries. I'll pop a Guardian Shield. What's the worst thing that could happen? Well, the worst thing that could happen is that that's not the build you're going up against. And it's actually a super early move out, the kind of move out that I think uThermal is very known for. These just hit a lot quicker. Blink wasn't even done yet. That 3rd Nexus is obviously super useless. It never comes into play. And I mean, even if Zest was just a little bit farther forward and he would have been able to drop a force field on the ramp, maybe then he buys more time, right? You get another round of Warpins, maybe even 2 rounds of Warpins. The tanks will push the units away eventually, but then at least Blink is going to finish up. Maybe he gets a much better fight. I mean, it's a very typical uThermal win, and in a way, I almost feel like a typical Zest loss, where you're just like, this is really good for Zest. It's like, Zest? What are you doing? Zest? Hello? Like, you remember that Marauder and stuff that you scouted? And I guess he just misread it.
Yeah. Madness. uThermal. 1-1, we're going to get our players to swap colors, and that means we're going into our game through on Simulacrum in just a moment. I honestly, I feel like uThermal is starting to kind of get a bit crazier now. I feel like he's not hit his peak of like madness that he can bring in.
You want him to go insane, don't you?
Yeah. Honestly, with what I've had to cast from him this last week, I'm going to be very disappointed if he doesn't bring it out here. So,
but what if he was doing that just because he wanted to hide his real strategies for the series against Zest?
Well, he did a very good job of it. Because he didn't show us a single normal game at all in the last week. So, yeah, great. 10 out of 10 effort.
Alrighty, well, we're all tied up. And like you said, that is good news because that means we got at least 4 games. I kind of expected this to go to distance regardless of who wins, right? Like uThermal or Zest, I had such a hard time picking it because uThermal is so capable of, you know, picking up a couple of ugly wins like that. It doesn't say much, but hey, a win is a win, right? Bottom right side, we're looking at the main base of our Korean Protoss that's representing Raise Your Edge. It is Zest.
In the top left-hand side from TeamLiquid, our red Terran player is uThermal.
I think it's a bit harder to pull off a build like he just did on this map. Obviously, this map is a bit bigger than Everdream. Takes a little longer, and on top of that, I think it's a bit easier to maybe keep the army out of your natural as well. Even though Everdream does have those ramps that could have been force fielded too. I mean, if I was Zest, I'd be pretty damn upset after that game. You know, you have a pretty close and competitive game 1. You win it in the end with a little base trade. You do a good job making a couple of excellent tactical decisions. And then it feels like game 2 ends before it even truly started.
Yeah. It was It was a real momentum breaker, right? Everything feels like going well. He obviously felt like he was in a good spot. It's like, cool, I'm seeing everything that he thinks he's seeing. And yeah, just falls apart. This definitely, I think, as well, where now Zest has to start second-guessing himself at times, because now he's like, well, I've never really seen that before. So what does he do next, right? Like, everything I see now, you're like, is he definitely just expanding, though? You know, there's questions to be asked.
I mean, obviously they did play against each other in the upper bracket, like you mentioned before we even started this series, and that was a shocking series. uThermal able to get the 3-0 victory back then over Zest with basically 3 pretty unique builds, right? On Everdream back then he went for like a Marine Hellion opening, and Hellions were, I think, dropped, if I recall correctly, in the main base, or maybe the Marines were dropped. Either way, like, uThermal killed like 22 SCV probes and the game was pretty much over. On game 2, I think there was that crazy 31-32 SCV opening where he does get very quick stim with 3 Rexes and just basically stims his way to the other side of the map and picked up a very quick and easy victory there as well. So Zest is obviously familiar with the crazy builds that uThermal is capable of pulling off. Like, I don't think that Zest really envisioned scenarios where it's like, I'm gonna get Storm, Double Forge, Colossus. Like, there isn't going to be that much late game, because that's just not how uThermal likes to tackle this matchup.
Yeah, no, uThermal is absolutely... He's the stew of Terrans. Right?
He's worse, mate. He's fly.
Yeah, it's he's very, very aggressive. He hates anything that goes past the 10-minute marker, unless he's like basically done a lot of damage early. Ooh, just gets this easy finished.
Now, Zest does get a decent scout off here, but as we know, there is a starport being built on the bottom side of the map. This can normally only mean one thing, and that is a medevac to pick up the Hellions and drop, but sometimes we'll also see a Liberator, because then the Hellions are just going to try to drive into the Natural, and the Liberator shows up in the main base, but this time it is going to be the standard option of the Hellions with the medevac combo. Now, Zest sees very few units, but he did see the Hellions. He obviously saw the reactor. He's going to see the 4 Hellions. And I think at this point, you need to be aware of the fact that there is a very good chance that this starport is being proxied, because this is a pretty common build. I'm so surprised he doesn't send his units home.
Yeah.
What? I mean, yeah, you've got a wall up, but Zest, they like to proxy the starports. These things happen. There is no shield battery in the main base either. I mean, Zest is doing a lot of damage, don't get me wrong. Okay, now he builds the battery, but I'm almost afraid it's a little too late.
Yeah, 4 Hellions are going to start running in. There's a couple of Stalkers in this main, but, well, yeah, they're going to take a while to get kills. Obviously, the first Hellion that goes down as well, you still have 1-shot potential with 3 Hellions, right? So, a couple workers, you still are going to lift and go to the Natural instead.
That's not good enough so
far. Okay, this is good, because now the Stalkers are committing hard to the Natural, and uThermal can go back in the main, but he's looking across the map. Lost the depot there. This is where uThermal's really going to get some damage done. Again, he can still one-shot probes. That shield battery has, yes, some usage, but not the craziest. And yeah, I really love the Hellion movement from uThermal.
No shield battery in the Natural, so these Hellions should be able to pick up a few more kills. Can we take a quick look at the Natural of Zest? uThermal is still keeping those 3 Hellions alive, even if they're super low on HP. No, he misses the pickup there. That's really unfortunate, because having that option to still pick up those Hellions later would have been awesome. Zest feels like he hasn't looked at home in the last minute. He's just like, no. War Prism, Stalkers, you're going to try to defend this with a Wither Mine? No, you will not. As he's just busy, like, microing his Protoss heart out. And it is definitely starting to get some serious damage done. We do have that bunker finishing up, but at this point, uThermal's command center is in the main base, and that's never a good sign. But Zest still needs a bit more, right? 26 against 24 workers. That's not good enough. Stim is done at this point. So let's see if these Marauders ever decide to stim forward. What a crazy game, Waddy.
Yeah, I think this is the end of this pressure from Zest. Maybe you can hold the low ground for a little while longer. I love that uThermal now builds a Liberator, right? Even if you just force more Stalkers to stay at home for longer, that's a pretty big deal. Obviously, it's kind of a weirder scenario because the Stalkers are kind of locked into the base anyways. They have no option other than to stay at home. But now Zest is looking for the starport. It looks like you might be able to get that. This Liberator has to be careful. It's just going to turn right back around. Too many Stalkers in the main base. Away it goes.
I mean, when I see this Liberator, I'm just so sad for uThermal that he lost those Hellions. Even if the Hellions were super low in HP, just imagine the potential that 3 Hellions have. Because who cares if Hellions have 10 HP or 90 HP? If there are no units to shoot at them, they are going to do a fantastic job in gunning down probes. So it really feels like that was a missed opportunity for uThermal, as he's going to end up losing his starport as well. I mean, there is firepower in his army, serious firepower. Zest doesn't have that much, that's good. On top of that, we have that weird wall off. I mean, this game is just so wild. Zest is just casually running into the natural of uThermal. No Protoss would ever be here, but Zest is here. This obviously means that uThermal does make his way to the other side of the map. Like, what is happening, Waddy? This game is so crazy.
Tank gets siege on the high ground, maybe something to defend. I mean, uThermal's going to lose his orbital command on the natural. So he's going to lose this, and now he's basically all in with what he has across the map because he has to deal some damage. He's already starting up a missile turret because he's afraid of the DTs.
I know, I love it, and I can't even blame him. This time there are no Dark Templars though. Zest is just waiting, I think, for charge. The moment that charge is done, his army is going to do really well. There's a Liberator in mix 2. Can uThermal repair the Liberator? The answer is no, it goes down. I'm afraid that uThermal just doesn't have enough units here. Like, his army was good against Stalkers, but no Marines to deal with these Zealots, even if charge isn't done. Messy, scrappy game. They're both just throwing everything they have at each other. It felt like both players were more focused on the offense than on the defense.
Yeah.
And in the end, that turned out really well for Zest, right? Because uThermal couldn't secure his natural anymore, and losing the Hellions eventually, it just wasn't good enough for uThermal. It was decent, but I really think there was more potential in those Hellions than what he got out of them.
No, for sure. It was definitely... it's just the threat of the Hellions, right? Because then the Stalkers aren't necessarily positioned in the main, and if they are, then the Hellions will deal damage. It's also if you force another warp in, right? Then you take so much less damage on the other side of the map. Zest maybe doesn't have those Stalkers there initially. Maybe this never becomes a base trade, and maybe that's better for uThermal. There's so many ways to look at that. So it definitely feels like an unfortunate way. Those Hellions may be the defining feature in the end. I have to say that I loved his movement because it kind of felt like initially he kind of missed out on opportunities with them. But then he just went to the natural, actually dropped on the edge of the main, went back into the main base, and Zest was so out of position. That's what opened up that, those options. Definitely feels like that was the sort of stuff that kind of lets you get into good positions. That's what uThermal is so good at. Being able to create
that was a great play. The juke from going into the natural and then unloading in the main again, that was awesome. It just, in the end, it wasn't good enough. It also does feel that Zest does shine in moments like this, right? Like, it's easy to focus on his mistakes, but he is so damn good in getting value out of those Stalkers. And if you talk about a killer instinct, I mean, Zest has that, like, 10 out of 10. He's maxed out on killer instinct. And that's why his games sometimes look a little bit silly and a bit sloppy. But he really keeps his eye on the prize, and he just knew that what he was doing was going to be good enough, no matter how many probes he may have lost at home. Our next map is going to be Golden Wall. When they played in the upper bracket, that's the map where uThermal went for that weird build where he basically makes it look normal, but then he stops producing SCVs, and he gets a lot of Marines and Marauders very quickly, and makes his way to the other side of the map with Stim quicker than you ever expected as a Protoss. Obviously, since he's already used that strategy once, I don't know if he can really pull that off again against Zest. I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. Zest is looking good, and he didn't even build that many Dark Shrines yet, Wardy.
No, he didn't even build one the entirety of the last game. That might be a record for Zest in the recent BVTs.
But what he did do is force somebody to build missile turrets. So, like, Zest is at this point, I don't know, we're all living in Zest's world. Like, if people are not ready for DTs, he goes DTs. If they are ready for DTs, he doesn't go for DTs. And if he already has DTs, then he turns them into Archons and still gets some pretty decent value out of them. The man is playing his own version of StarCraft at the moment, or at least his own version of PvT, but he's getting the job done, and that's really impressive.
Well, we are just waiting for uThermal to come back from a quick break. So when he's in here, we'll obviously go straight into Golden Wall. Of course, you're watching the final weekend of the Shopify TSL 5. This is the 4th weekend of action. Obviously, the final matches will take place tomorrow still, so it's not the final day just yet. But yeah, what a journey it's been, Roddy. You said it earlier, but it's so true. Like, I can't believe we've just stormed through this tournament. Like, time is just passed so quickly. I don't know. We waited 8 years or so for TSL 5. Yeah. That's all coming to a close.
Press TSL 6, what? Give me.
We start TSL 6 like a couple of weeks from now, maybe. Does that work?
Are the qualifiers coming up yet? Instead of 8 years, we should make it 8 days. Like 8 days after TSL 5 hits, like, surprise, we're back. I was like, oh my god, again. Let's enjoy the ride. We would have a lot of storylines, though, going into TSL 6.
Yeah, we would. As we go into Golden Wall, uThermal's back. And it's time to see if he can keep himself alive to go to a Game 5 against Zest here, who is hence on match point and looking to play Innovation in the next round. So the way this bracket is set up now is pretty much well set, right?
Yep.
You win this, you play Innovation. Winner of that then has to play Trap. Winner of that plays soon the grand finals. And that's how the rest of TSL 5 does indeed look as we go in game.
Yep, and this also means that if this man would end up losing this map, it will be an all-Korean top 4. And who would have ever predicted that after that first crazy opening weekend we had? But here we are, on the bottom left side of Golden Wall. We're looking at the main base of uThermal. He's sending out an SCV, Wardy.
Yeah, SCV, and it's going up the left side, so he's going to hide his barracks away. As in the bottom right, our red product is Zest.
So mind games it is.
This is what he was doing a lot of throughout the week. Hiding the racks outside the main, sometimes even building the factory outside of the main. And he had a variety of different builds he went for off of all of this. So very interested to see just what it is. And, you know, a few moments from now, we should start getting some answers and start putting together the puzzle of what uThermal wants to do in this fourth game.
Yeah, Zest is also scouting around his space on his side of the map. Maybe a little bit worried about a 2 racks opening. That is a build that we do see from time to time in this matchup as well. Because as soon as bunkers go up, things can be a little dicey for the Protoss. Of course, it's easier to get shield batteries up for us as Protoss players than it is to get spine crawlers up as a Zerg. But that doesn't mean that you can take the 2 racks opening lightly. And that's why Zest is scouting around for it as well. Now, is uThermal also going to proxy his factory? This feels a little bit wild to me. Because he's keeping his SCV on the north side of his barracks. Yep. He obviously went double gassed in his own main base. I mean, there are a couple of terrifying one-base builds, but I do feel in general they fare a lot better if it's close to the Protoss. This is basically a one-base from your side of the map. And I know this build has been used in the GSL, or at least something that looks very similar to this. And it was successful. I don't know how I feel about it, Wardy.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a weird one because he was doing this so much throughout the week, and then he had like so many different responses off of it, from, you know, marine tank push into a few other bits and pieces. Zest commits the probe to just say, okay, you do not have a natural expansion still, so...
But it's a bit weird. Like, if I'm Zest right now and I scout this, I'd be like, what did I even just scout? Like, he's got a Reaper, but he's got no command center on the low ground. What I would be expecting is that he probably built a command center in his main base and he's going to float it towards the bottom side of the map. That's how I think I would read this as a Protoss player. Now, obviously, Zest's IQ is like 90 IQ above mine, so I don't know what he's thinking. Can't possibly tell you, Waddy, but I think this is one of these scouts where even if you get the scout off, you're a bit confused. Now we see a Cyclone being built as well in a command center in the main base. I am really confused about everything that uThermal's doing this game.
It's like mega mind game mode, right? Like... You know, Zest comes up, he's like, okay, you've got your racks back here, but then what else am I actually able to see? He obviously doesn't see the command center building, so he's very much so in the dark as to what this follow-up is. And now 2 more racks start from uThermal with the siege tank production on what would be his third base.
Yeah, I mean, this Adept is going to go down, but it does see that there is a Cyclone. So at this point, I'd be like, is he doing a one base all in? The one thing that uThermal is definitely achieving with this, I think, is striking fear in the heart of Zest. Because if I'm Zest right now, would I be comfortable building probes or even chrono boosting my Nexus? Hell no. Would I be comfortable dropping a Twilight Council? No, probably not, because I'd be like, I'm probably going to get attacked before my Twilight upgrade is done. So uThermal is definitely scaring Zest quite a bit. Reaper is actually going to make its way into the main base. That is a big scout. uThermal is going to see that there's a robotics facility that's being chrono boosted as well, and the 2 additional gateways. So the scout here is excellent by the Reaper.
Yeah, really good information picked up. Gets to see everything that Zest is doing. The Immortal coming out though, and I really feel like that's already the right side sort of direction to take this. It's safe, it can still be useful later in the game. Obviously, you're maybe not on the probe count you want to be, but obviously uThermal slowed his own build down a lot as well, right? CC after factory, CC then in the main base as well. Takes a few seconds to float down. So he is still 6-ish workers behind, and he's only just gotten access to mules.
And I kind of like the observer immediately. It feels a bit risky, right? If you don't know what you're playing against, you're like, do I really need an ops here? But Zest decided to go for it, and this observer right now is golden. Like, it gives Zest everything that he needs to know. He immediately picks up the Immortal, the Sentry, and the Zealot, and he's actually going to try to get adventures on the other side of the map. It's a bit risky because there is a Cyclone, and there are quite a few Marines already as well, but I can only assume that Zest is going to be defensive. I wonder if he would ever go for a Disruptor here, or if you just always go Colossus. I actually think a Disruptor would be a decent choice, but I don't know.
I feel like if you get Colossus though, right, you can maybe have 2 Colossus up before a real push of uThermal, and then that's really powerful against something that is what uThermal's doing, like a Marine tank-based push if he goes across the map. So I don't mind either way. I can definitely get behind where a Disruptor could be cool though, right? If you put it in the Prism as well, maybe catch some units coming across the map. We see some good options as this Prism's going to sit bottom left corner, and it's just going to wait for uThermal to move out.
That's actually kind of cool, right? And doesn't even show it at this point either. uThermal has no idea that it's still there. The Observer is going to see this army leave. But I love this as well by uThermal, pretending to move out, scans the Observer. Because now if you're Zest, you're like, did he actually move out? The answer is yes, Waddy. This is just going to get wild again. I actually kind of like it for uThermal. I feel like there's a lot of firepower in his army. Obviously, he's got Stim as well, so I think a straight-up fight is kind of difficult for Zest. But hey, Zest is going to rely on the high ground and all the shield batteries. But shield batteries won't keep you safe forever against tanks, of course, at the bottom of your ramp. Now, we do have that Immortal Sentry Zealot drop in the main base. We've got the armies clashing already on the other side of the map as Zest moved very far out, picked off the Cyclone and a couple of Marines, but that's about it. Recall's being used on the Prism now. Here we go, Waddy. This is it. Do or die for uThermal.
Yeah, these units are going to start moving in. 2 of the tanks on siege, but honestly, it feels like Zest's army doesn't quite have a way to do anything as he moves back and forth on this ramp. He takes some extra shots. Shield battery is being drained of energy. Now, we do see the little bit of a flank maneuver from the left side with this Prism. He can get in here with these Immortals and get a tank or 2 on the high ground. There's no high ground vision. Oh, that's massive. 2 tanks go down so easily. The next is in the front, and that'll do it. Whoa.
What a move. What a sick move there by Zest, right? He knew exactly what he wanted to do with that Prism, recalled it at home, put the Immortals inside of it. That's normally still a very scary position. Even if you have your shield batteries, eventually you would feel like, oh, I'm going to have to fight those tanks, right? And it gets awkward and it gets ugly. That was a sick move by Zest. I mean, that's a game-winning move if I've ever seen one. Because I was looking at that army, I was like, man, if uThermal gets the tank shots off before they even really fight, and then you Stim as well, so much firepower in the Terran army. Zest is like, yeah, but what if I just put 2 Immortals in a Prism and I shoot at tanks, and the tanks don't even see my army? It's pretty good, right? Amazing. Very, very well done by Zest.
We stand as one.